Acharya ji Pranam, on being asked, should we do our duty or not? Ramana Maharshi says, yes, certainly. Even if you try not to do your duty, you will be perforce obliged to do it. Let the body complete the task for which it came into being. Sri Krishna says in the Gita, whether Arjuna liked it or not, he would be forced to fight. When there is work to be done by you, you cannot keep away. Nor can you continue to do a thing when you are not required to do. Mark the key words. Only they must be highlighted and spoken on. Duty. What is duty? Then work. When there is work to be done, you cannot keep away. What is meant by work? Nor can you continue to do a thing when you are not required to do. What is meant by requirement? We'll speak on these. Does the word duty apply to machines? Does it? Aren't machines doing something or the other all the time? That's what they are designed for. But does the word duty apply to them? Have you ever scolded a machine on neglecting its duty? Imagine somebody scolding his bike or a steam iron. Between the two, I would prefer to be with the steam iron. Right? Similarly, are animals supposed to do their duty? Does the concept of duty apply to animals? None of us ever thought that Golu, Shamsher and all the other rabbit chaps can ever be assigned duties. Did we? They just are. They do a lot, but they never perform duties. How is it so that man has duties? How is it so that man has duties? What's the fundamental difference? Surely it has to be the difference between man and animal. Probably it is duties that make a man a man. If the difference between an animal and a human being is the difference in terms of consciousness, man has a consciousness that asks for expansion, for understanding, for liberation, and the animal has no yearning for that, then surely duties must have something to do with consciousness and therefore understanding and expansion and liberation. Isn't that straightforward? If the difference between man and animal is the difference in consciousness, animals too have consciousness, but their consciousness never demands understanding or salvation or freedom. Or do they demand these things? They don't. They are conscious, but in their own limited physical way. That opens up a way to understand the very principle of duties. Man's duty is to take his consciousness to its pinnacle. That's your only duty. That's your central duty that expresses itself in the form of diverse minor duties. And therefore, that's the way to test whether you are duty bound to do something or not. Somebody comes and tells you, do this, you are duty bound. How do you test whether that particular thing, action, is really a duty with you or not? Test it on the central principle. Your central duty is to gain liberation. That's your central duty because you're a human being. So when something is touted to you as your duty, ask yourself, will this take me to liberation? If it will take you to liberation, it is your duty. Otherwise, it is not. Now, the moment you apply that test to the great set of duties imposed on you, you find that most of these so-called duties go out of the window. Son, it is your duty to get married for the sake of your grandmother. Now, will it take you to liberation? No. Will it take her to liberation? She doesn't even want that. How is it a duty then? It is your duty to fight for the honor of your tribe. It is your duty to fight for the honor of your tribe. Will it take you to liberation? No. How is it a duty then? It's such an dangerous, extremely dangerous touchstone. Because this shows to you that most of your duties are unnecessary, false, and drains on your precious energy and time. Fulfilling these duties, you are just wasting your life. Not only are you wasting your life, you are ignoring your real duty by remaining engrossed in all these false and junk duties. By accepting something frivolous as your duty, you are discarding your real duty. In fact, the real duty is so demanding that it leaves you with no spare energy for any frivolous duty. You cannot have both. You cannot say, fine, I'll fulfill my real duty at the same time. I'll just, participate in some frivolous duties. You cannot do both. Your real duty demands 100% of your being and time and energy and resources. Not even 0.1% of your being is spare. Anything, therefore, that you divert towards something false is a drain, is a tax, is a diversion from the real thing. Take something away from the real thing, and your real purpose suffers. And if the real thing demands 100% of you, even 99.9% of you won't suffice. Surely if your aircraft has enough fuel to cover 99.9% of the journey, you would be 99.9% safe. How safe are you if your plane has fuel just enough to cover 99.9% of the journey? The journey, by the way, is 12,000 kilometers. How much is that remaining 0.1%? Merely a few kilometers. How safe are you? How safe are you? You are completely unsafe. It's either 100% or death. That's the thing with life. Anybody, anything, any misconcept that is occupying even 0.1% of yourself is a fatal distraction. To reach the absolute, you have to offer yourself absolutely, which means 100%. You cannot offer yourself partially and still hope to reach the absolute. Is the absolute partial? Then how can you make a part payment and obtain it? Therefore, the worst situation is of those who make 99.9% payment. Because the same fate awaits you whether you pay 99.9% or you pay 0.9%. You won't gain deliverance. And if you are not to gain deliverance, why bother to pay 99.9%? You are better off not paying anything at all. But because here I see you as a set of people who have already paid a lot, who have already probably paid 60%, 70%, I would encourage you to go all the way. Full Monty. That which you have paid will not now return to you, right? It's gone. It's a sunk cost. Now that you have already paid 70%, better truthfully and honestly make the remaining 30% payment as well and take the delivery. What's the point in paying 70% and getting nothing in return? Remember, there are no refunds. Oh, too bad. No refunds at all. The worst situation is of those spiritual seekers, I repeat, who pay 90%, 95% and get nothing at all. Scary. Scary. And that's why you often find completely worldly people less miserable than so-called spiritual people. Because the completely worldly people have paid only to the extent of 5%. Their disappointment and frustration is not much. They didn't get anything, but then they also didn't pay anything. The spiritual person has paid a lot, but because he has not paid in full, because he has not paid in absolute, so he does not get anything, and therefore his frustration is great. Are you getting it? There are no duties in life. Life is a duty. Life is either a duty or the most unbearable perdition. That duty has been classically called as dharma. What's the duty? Dharma. The word religion has become very stained now. But religion is nothing but a name for living a real, truthful life of duty. Remember that you must not live for pleasure. You must live to fulfill your duty. You're not alive in order to enjoy life. It's a very false notion. And this kind of a hedonist notion has been implanted deeply in our minds, especially in the last 100 years or so. That you are born to enjoy and all that. No, sir. Sorry. I know I'm spoiling the fun for you, but you aren't born to enjoy. Pull that thing out of your head. And now wrap your head around the real center. Wrap your head around your duty. We exist to fulfill our central duty. And what is the central duty? Truth, liberation, understanding. You know all those words. In fact, those words are so cliched. I'm sometimes wary of using them. But what to do? We don't have too many words for the real thing. Never complain, oh, but there is so little pleasure in my life. Friend, who advised you, first of all, that you will have pleasure in your life? But you make such a long face and give up such a deep squeal. But I don't have happiness. Why must you have happiness? Who told you that you did such a great job by being born, that now you will be rewarded with happiness? But all the movies and all the shops and all the gurus have been telling me that I deserve to be happy. In fact, some of them have been telling me that I am already happy. One in particular makes his ends meet just by convincing everybody that they don't exist at all. You don't exist at all. You are already the liberated Atman. Now go and have a spicy masala dosa. Duty is what we live for. Only the liberated one can just live. In our eyes, we are not liberated, so we must live for something. To live for something is your duty. To live for the real thing is your real duty. Are you getting it? That's what Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna. You cannot just do anything random. You are looking left, you are looking right. Sometimes you are talking to the horses. 2 minutes back you were trying to hide under the chariot. Before that you said that you needed to take a washroom break. You have to fight, son. You have to fight. This is a battlefield. And right now you aren't fighting for your personal gain or wealth or kingdom. You're fighting to establish truth in the kingdom. In front of you are monstrous powers of evil. Look at that chap, Duryodhan. See how he grimaces. And that wannabe rapist, Dushasan. You want to hand over the kingdom to them? And they'll have that able wizard, Shakuni, to guide them. Is it these kind of people that you want to trust with running the affairs of the kingdom? It's not about you, Arjun. It's about a million other people. You have to fight. Arjun is saying, no, you see, today is Wednesday. So, no, it starts with W. So, it's very edgy. So, I am feeling edgy. So, I won't fight. I mean, general kind of arguments that we all give. And when we give such arguments, we all feel that we are very justified. But that's the nature of our arguments. W has so many edges, doesn't it have? Spikes and spikes and spikes. 1, 2, 3. I'm feeling spooked. I won't fight. And why don't you fight? The horses are so smelly. I'm allergic to such smell. I won't fight. Krishna is saying, you hold your horses first. I'll take care of these horses, but your internal horses are all going berserk. You don't have the luxury of coming up with such colorful arguments. You have to fight. You are duty-bound, Parth. That's Dharma. We live for the sake of Dharma. There is no other reason to exist at all. Man lives for the sake of Dharma. And if he doesn't live for the sake of Dharma, I said his life is the worst perdition. So fight. You can't run away. You can almost, figuratively see Krishna holding Arjun by one arm, and this fellow is trying to somehow escape away. He's in no mood to fight. After the war is over, after all the Kauravas are done and dusted, one day he comes to Krishna and says, a little secret. I have totally forgotten the Gita, And then Krishna is seriously angry. Now, I'm not making it up. That's the reason why we are having Uttar Gita discourses these days. That's how the Uttar Gita begins. Shyly, Arjun confesses to Krishna, Krishna, I really didn't get much of what you said that day. In fact, I don't even know how I won the war. It was all because of you. But now that I am more sober, would you want to repeat a bit of what you were so eloquent with that day? Are you getting it? You don't exist to make merry. You don't exist to have a rave party on the 31st night. I know many of you are planning it. I have my sources. That's not what we are here for. Know your duty and give yourself totally to it. Will there be pleasure? No, sir, not at all. There would be something higher than pleasure, more fulfilling, more satisfying than pleasure. Pleasure is a turncoat. Today one thing, tomorrow another thing. The one who lives by his duty, his dharma, is rewarded with something far higher, far more dependable than pleasure. Those who have known have sometimes called it mukti, sometimes anand. Again, there are not too many words for it. But the thing is real. Try it. Getting it?